Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Okiki podcast, and this is my first Saskatoon episode with my friend Laura Payne. She's an amazing visual artist, and I'm so excited to share her story and her journey with you guys. She's been so open with me, and it's just so exciting to have her here. So thank you so much for coming, Laura.
You're very welcome.
For sure. And do you mind telling us a little bit about you and your background, and how did you find visual art?
Yeah, probably like same with you. It's just something you've been doing forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, both me and my sister were, visually artistic from the time we were little.
Yeah.
And my parents definitely saw that and encouraged that, which is really fortunate because not everybody has parents that are supportive of them pursuing the arts professionally.
Yeah.
But interestingly, I've had this weird kind of like flip of how I thought I was going to approach my career, because when I was younger and my parents would take me to galleries and museums,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm so grateful for,
Yeah.
but they didn't really take me to any sort of like contemporary galleries, right?
Uh-huh.
Like I think they probably took me to what they were interested in and what they probably learned in school, which is like, a group of 7 and Emily Carr and Picasso's a bit, and Rembrandt, right? Like,
Totally.
And so even like growing up and going to school and taking art history classes, for some reason, like they never really taught us much about contemporary art. And so I had this notion that being a visual artist was no longer a vocation. Like that was something that people did a long time ago, but that wasn't something that people did. And so I knew I just needed to find a way to pursue this artistic life, and my parents being supportive but also very pragmatic about like making sure I could get a job helped me explore what those options are. And so we looked at like museum studies or curating, looked at like graphic design, which is what my sister wound up going into, and illustration. Awesome. And what I landed on when I was in high school was I was going to be a high school art teacher. Finished my bachelor's and like sent out the applications to grad schools, and I was so excited and like ready for this next big challenge, and I got rejected from everywhere.
Wow, no way.
Yeah, it was like crushing. Right? But it's like everybody, most people go through that sort of like rejection. Like it was kind of my first big rejection, and it was really hard, but I realized like, all right, I need to spend a little bit of time working on my portfolio, and so I moved home for a year, and my parents let me do that. And the next year I applied to more schools again, more this time, Canadian and American, and I wound up going to the Maryland Institute College of Art, which is in Baltimore.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this time you not only got in, but you had another opportunity. And is that like a fairly large school in the art world?
Yeah, it's a pretty big one. Like I tried to look at what I thought were some of the top graduate programs for art in the United States, and the appeal of that program specifically was that it was a multidisciplinary school, like specifically the graduate program that I would go to. So in the United States, a lot of MFA programs are still sort of sectioned into specific media, like you go just for painting and you work just with painters, or you go just for sculpting, and this was going to be like the island of misfit toys of artists. Awesome. Which was really cool and exciting to me, especially because I was working in video and painting and like projection at the time, so I couldn't decide, and I didn't want to choose, so that wound up being great. If you look at my website or my portfolio, I kind of have these two really distinct bodies of work for sure. One of them is more light and electronic and projection based and time based, right? Like it's animated. And then the other body of work is these shaped paintings that I make. They have very similar kind of overlapping concerns, but I definitely think of them as very distinct, and I usually don't even sort of show them in the same place or the same context, because I'm not even really sure how they relate to each other yet. Yeah, so the light works, what I'm really interested in showing people is kind of simulating aspects of natural phenomena. So like sunsets, you know, the northern lights, like that kind of like that light spectacle that just
Cool.
Yeah. Except it's very clearly like an electronic piece. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of trying to simulate that same sense of like awe, that kind of like sublime, indescribable. I'm having a hard time describing it because it's
I know what you're trying, or I get what you're trying to say. Like that feeling you get like when you see the sunset and like the sunrise and just like it is an experience. Yeah. So are you trying to like I guess recreate or emulate that for people in a way, but interpreted through those pieces?
Definitely. Yeah, cool. Using technology, what's very clearly technology to people, but using it's a really, really important, really good question. And the answer is going to be different for everybody, obviously. But for me, it's about consistency, making time, like just having a routine in the studio, having like kind of rituals that like reinforce that routine. Because, you know, you're never going to find time. You have to make the time. And if you can't see where it is, you have to kind of look at how you're spending your time and figure out what you can sacrifice, you know, and where you can make that studio time. I'm extremely lucky that I work for a gallery that is supportive of my practice, both in terms of like, you know, spiritually and emotionally, but also they sell my work, they represent my work, and so I'm very, very lucky that I work part-time for the gallery, and then I work, you know, part-time, well, really full-time in my studio. I try to devote at least 40 hours a week to my practice, and it's just about consistency, you know, like obviously take vacations, like do whatever like self-care you need to just be a human being and just have like a healthy life-work balance, but you really do have to be consistent. The thing that's sort of strange too about like the art world, and maybe other like forms of arts are like this too, but it's sort of like it's almost like people act like it's kind of tacky or gauche to think about money as an artist, you know, because you should be above it. But I'm not about paying my rent. I wish I could just not pay my rent and not care. I do. And so it's definitely important to like find a sustainable practice as well. So talking about, you know, making art for art's sake, like making it for your own kind of like spiritual edification, like your own needs, and then like also having a sustainable career, as much as once you've established that kind of foundation, that like ritual, that practice where you're consistently making work. It's maybe going to sound like I'm contradicting everything I just said, but it also is important to kind of like shake it up and do something different, so you don't sort of get stuck doing the same thing all the time, because you want to grow as an artist too. So go to galleries, travel, which kind of brings me to my next point, right? In 4 days, I'm about to go to kind of an artist retreat residency in New York State for a month.